I've been to a few meetings where we've had some politicians speak. We had Robert White speak. I believe we've had the mayor speak in the past. I'm not sure recently. And then we've had um, the Attorney General from the District of Columbia, Brian Schwab, speak. And everybody, you might know that I'm involved a little bit in DC politics, and I also know that we're not really supposed to do too much things that are very political. But when I saw the opportunity that was presented, because we had a few people speak, and we have something on the ballot in the District of Columbia which is not traditional and something that I'm involved in personally, I thought it would be a good idea that we would introduce this initiative to the Rotary of DC and to Washingtonians here that are voters here to consider the options and to understand. And we have Kenyatta here to talk about it, and Lisa Rice, potentially, who is the proposer of the initiative, is potentially on her way, but she's actually in court because there's been so much litigation versus the initiative, and she's in court right now as we speak. A real quick note on representative democracy versus direct democracy. I traditionally am somebody who believes more in representative democracy. We elect somebody and they represent us, and we, the voters, don't get bogged down in our daily lives with every little thing that can happen in the legislature. However, when it comes to the rules of the game, I think that's the most opportune time and place for direct democracy to occur. And that is something that's going on with this initiative right now. The power structures within almost all jurisdictions, states, counties, cities, the country, are manipulated by those in power to use the rules to perpetuate their power and to sort of ingrain their existence. I think that there is no better place for an initiative for direct democracy to occur when it comes to the rules of the game. And this is part of the rules of the game. And with that—
Thank you for the introduction. My name is Kenyatta Smith, and I am here representing the campaign Yes on 83. Like David said, our proposer was supposed to be here today, Lisa Rice. She is stuck in court. Since she proposed this initiative, there have been a lot of politicians and heavy hitters in DC have been trying to kill it via DOE law. The campaign Yes on 83 is a ballot initiative proposed by Lisa Rice, our proposer, who is a longtime community leader east of the river. A Native Washingtonian. She is a Ward 7 ANC and a proud mother to a DC PS school teacher. We also have Philip Pennell. Philip Pennell is a longtime Ward 8 community leader. He has been the Ward 8 Dems president multiple times, over 5 times, and those two East of the River seniors are the leading force of Yes on 83. Yes on 83 is a grassroots initiative. It is a group of neighbors all over DC who just want to change the status quo of politicians and make politicians work harder for their vote. Our initiative is a 2-part initiative. The first part is, one, to let independents vote in the primary election and to implement ranked choice voting. Now, what would both of those initiatives do? I think that letting independents vote is simple. These are over 75,000 registered voters in DC who pay for these primary elections with their tax dollars. They're not allowed to vote in a primary election because they're not affiliated with a partisan. They're not affiliated with a party. So we just want to open the primaries to independent voters. They can vote in the Republican primaries. They can vote in the Democratic primaries. But what that is going to do is make sure that these politicians step outside of their comfort zone, engage over 75 registered voters to get them to support their campaign. That's pretty simple. Our next part of the campaign initiative is ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting is a proven system that has been used in Maine, Alaska, across the bridge in Arlington, and even in New York. It's a very simple system when you vote for your favorite candidate, and then you get to rank up to 5. If your first does not win by over 51%, your vote goes to your second
choice, your third choice, and so on. I like to use the example that's happening right now, this presidential election that no one likes to speak about. I'm going to be transparent. Of course, I'm voting for Kamala. However, some people do not, they feel like it's one or two. We have Kamala, we have Donald Trump. And we're forced to choose the lesser evil. Did you know that Cornel West was running for the Green Party? Did you also know we also have Jill Stein who's running for independent? So we have 4 different people who are running for president, but we're only pushing 2. With ranked choice voting, you can really choose who you truly want to, your favorite. So let's say, for example, I prefer Cornel West. I'll put him as my first, and then I would rank Kamala as my second, and maybe Jill Stein as my third. Majority of America doesn't even know that Cornel West is running for president. So he'll probably get about 13% of the votes. If whoever ranked Kamala as their second choice, all 13% of those votes will go to her. So let's say 13% is with Cornel, 45 was Kamala, and Donald Trump has 47. All of the 13% of those votes are going to help Kamala, and then she will win the race by getting over 50%. One thing about ranked choice voting is that your vote stays in the race longer. It doesn't get kicked out immediately if that person doesn't win. It's a proven system that also puts more Black and brown people and women in rows of higher rows. So it's also changed the face of the St. Paul, Minnesota's council from predominantly white men to a very diverse crowd of women of color, men of color, and minorities. So I really think that ranked choice voting will, again, force, make. I'm so big on making politicians work harder for their vote, because then it also creates a more kinder playing field with the candidate, with the race. And what I mean by that, if David and I are running for the same position, I might tell David, hey, can you tell your constituents and your supporters to make me your second choice? So it creates a sense of community and camaraderie in the race. So I want you guys to turn on the back of your ballot this November and vote yes for ranked choice voting. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions about this initiative? I'm ready. I'm here to answer a lot of questions. I'm here to overly educate, and I'm ready.
I'm confused of what
What
you're
are you
saying.
confused about?
I'm confused about if I voted for one person, then my vote goes to somebody else if that person didn't win.
If they don't win by the majority, your rank. So if you don't rank, let's say, for example, some people might not rank. That's an option. It's an option to rank. So you vote for your first choice. And if you look at the back of
Right.
this, it's an example ballot.
Got it.
So you vote for your first choice, and then you rank your backups. If your backup does not win by the majority, the ranking goes into play. So for example, like I said, if your first choice only had 13%, they're out of the race. So your vote is going to trickle down to your second choice.
So if you voted for the first one and they only got 30%, 13%, then that vote's going to go to the next person?
If you voted for, in this case, let's say you voted for Haynes Point, and Haynes Point came in last, and you voted for Haynes Point first, then the first round, for everybody that voted for Haynes Point, their votes would be distributed amongst the other candidates. In this case, Anacostia Park, National Arboretum, and Rock Creek, and so forth. So let's just say, for example, there's 5 candidates, each one of these parks, and Haynes Point got 4% of the vote and was last. And then, but of those 4%, 75%, which would be 3%, voted for Anacostia Park. So then Anacostia Park would get everybody that voted for Haynes Point, for Anacostia Park, everybody that voted for Haynes Point, but they voted for Anacostia Park second, all their votes would then accrue to Anacostia Park. And basically it's automatic runoff, so you get to 50% plus 1. And it happens like that.
Just to piggyback on the 4% that he's speaking of, those people, that 4%, it's going to go directly to their second choice. So what he just described is exactly what it is, because it's the same system in Australia. If the person wins by the majority, because most politicians win by the plurality in DC. So if they win by the majority over 50%, there's no ranking. It's done. So let's stop there. But if you don't rank your vote, that's it. So we suggest that you do rank. If you rank, like I said, your first choice might be Kamala. If she wins, like David said, but doesn't win by, like she only has 4%, that she's out of the race, and your vote goes to your second choice, which might be Joe Biden. So you actually get more choices, and you don't have to choose a lesser evil. Because I mean, we have a lot of people right now, I'm gonna be completely transparent, who are not voting. The turnout is very, very low. They do not support either. And not voting is voting to me to someone who I don't want in office. So I feel like ranked choice voting is going to bring a larger turnout. It's going to it's going to give them more choices. And especially the younger generation is not like us. It's not going to pick a lesser evil. They're ready to challenge politicians, and they want more choices so they can feel comfortable about their vote.
So I have 3 questions. So first, do we currently have a system in DC where you need to win 50% plus 1 vote?
No.
Okay, so this isn't going to save money because we're not doing runoffs currently, correct?
No, this is going to cost money.
Okay. Second question. If someone, say, loses on the Democratic side, so say you've got the Republican system that you've got going with this, the Democrat system in the primaries, and then they run against each other, right? Is that still going to be how this works, or is everyone on the same ballot?
No, it's the same. So the primary elections stay the same. You have your Democratic, you have your Republican. Our first part, letting independents vote, allows independents to choose what primary election they want to.
So ranked choice is only for primary.
It's for both. It's for primary and general.
Okay. So if I lose, say I'm running on the Democratic ticket and I lose that primary, can I then jump to be an independent?
No. Oh, yeah, no.
Okay.
So if you have, let's say, 8 candidates, how many candidates ran for Ward 7?
10. 10 candidates ran for Ward 7.
Kenyatta lives in Ward 7, and there was 10 candidates who ran for Ward 7. And Kenyatta, what was the percentage of the winner of the Ward 7 Democratic primary?
Less than 30%.
Less than 30%.
He had like slightly over 2,000 voters.
So the principle would be that that person did not garner a majority of the electorate in support of that person. He or she obtained a plurality less than that, and it is his campaign is strengthened therefore by sort of like minor factionalism, or basically just a strong base. Whereas with ranked choice voting, that candidate would be incentivized to go after second place votes as well as first place votes. So that person would actually be incentivized to knock on doors of people who might generally be opposed to that person. So he or she would be inclined to be more representative of the electorate.
To me, the idea seems very innovative. Innovative. But what's going on in my head is, given the polarized country that we are in right now, and a democracy is typically defined as the one that who gets the most popular votes. I mean, let's go with that for a minute. How is this going to align with the popularity and the work of the candidate, or at least what they have said that they will do and they have done, when we have this ranked choice voting?
I think David explained that well. It's going to make this candidate step outside of their comfort zone. To be completely frank, I'm going to be completely honest. I'm very tired with DC politics. DC Council, they stay in a certain space. They engage certain people. They don't step out and hit different pockets of the area to make more people feel seen. So what I think this would do, again, I can repeat this. It's going to make candidates work harder for everyone's vote. I know it's a plurality, but the popular vote, it's a social group of popularity. So again, ranked choice voting is going to bring, I feel like it's going to improve voter turnout. It's going to make people feel more seen who don't, again, people do not vote because politicians are not coming to talk to them. Yes, ma'am. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm next.
yes.
Hi, I'm Natalie Koretnik, and I'm with Rotary.
Hi.
So first of all, when I saw this, first of all, thank you for coming here and informing us about this initiative. When I got the ballot in the mail, I was confused about what it really meant. And I talked to a number of DC citizens who I thought were very thoughtful and had the same values I did. And so I'm going to vote yes on it. But the
Thank you.
concern that everyone expressed was that it doesn't then provide, okay, we'll vote yes, and let's say that wins, but the funding is another issue. Is that correct? And what do you think about the funding of the initiative? Because that's a way it could get killed too.
I am very confident that we are going to receive funding once this ballot initiative is passed. Our proposer, Lisa, I can't wait till she gets here. She's about 10 minutes away. She's an amazing fundraiser. What she has done for this ballot initiative for the last year has been impeccable. We'll be just fine with funding. We have major support in DC, and yeah,
Okay.
it is public. We have a lot of fundraising dollars, and some support from Fair Vote, which is an organization that supports ranked choice voting outside of Silver Spring, and Dr. Bronner's Action Committee, which funds a lot of DC ballot initiatives. We have raised local funding from over 175 donors in DC. Yeah, so we have a lot of support from volunteers. We have a strong coalition of people who are supporting us, and we're working really hard. We're going to get our funding. That's not a concern of ours. Yes, madam.
Oh, I don't understand why these two initiatives were squished into one because the ranked choice voting, the problem with that is obviously these are some of the smartest people in the city
Yes.
and they're confused. So that's the problem. But I don't understand your initiative about independent voters being, why don't you just get rid of the parties? Because that's what you're doing. If I can walk in and vote in a party, I'm not, okay. If I vote in the Republican Party because I want to get votes, I want the Republican Party to be represented by somebody other than Donald Trump, right? It's why do we still have parties if I can vote on for any candidate?
It's not about the party. You said, why do we have parties if we're allowing independents to vote in primary elections?
Yeah.
Why does an independent have to be affiliated with a party to vote in the primary election?
Because the person that runs as a Democrat is there representing the Democratic Party.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you can argue that you shouldn't have parties, and some of our founding fathers did.
I don't think that it's not that you shouldn't have parties. I think you should have parties. I think that is fair. But our bottom line is that if you are going to, again, independents are registered voters. They are taxpayers, and they should be able to vote in the primary elections. I'm getting this thing, like a lot of times I hear Democrats say, if you want to vote in a Democratic election, just register, because that means you don't have our morals. If you're like an independent, you don't follow. That's completely incorrect. We don't know what happens behind the closed doors in that ballot. For example, Tucker Carlson, when he was living here, He became a registered Democrat because he knows that Democrats hold the power. We don't know how these Democrats are going to vote in the general election in November. It's an assumption that they're registered as a Democrat or Republican, that they support your mission. And again, while these two ballot initiatives are put together are simple, because it's going to make, again, politicians step outside of their comfort zone and work harder for your vote. If independents are allowed to vote in the primary election, that's meaning that's 75,000 people that Republican candidates and Democratic candidates have to step out to and get their vote. That's number one. And number two of ranked choice voting is the cross. It's like, cross promotion of working with another candidate, stepping outside of your regular comfort zone and getting the vote and the support from your second choice. That's why we put those two together, again, to make them work harder.
You go ahead.
David.
To add one more thing about the way this initiative would work, this is not an all-candidate primary that you can vote for any candidate if you're a Democrat. So if you're a registered Democrat, you would still vote in the Democratic primary. If you are a registered Republican, you would vote in the Republican primary. What this initiative would do would allow you to be an independent and ask for a ballot of your choosing, and therefore that person participates in a primary. Now, in the District of Columbia, there's 75,000 independents. Let's say 50,000 show up on the primary because they're not allowed to vote. 90% of them are going to ask for their Democratic ticket. They're going to participate in the only election that matters in the District of Columbia, except for coming in second at large. The only election that matters in the District of Columbia, besides coming in second at large for DC Council, is the Democratic primary.
Can I just say, hello, Lisa. This is our proposer. She was stuck in court. I introduced Lisa. I would love for her to introduce herself before we answer any more questions.
Hi, everyone. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry I'm late, but quick background. The Board of Elections was sued for making our initiative proper subject matter, and the lower courts rejected that twice, and then the party suing went to the Court of Appeals. Unfortunately for David's schedule, that was this morning. So I've been sitting in the Court of Appeals. Literally.
Well, glad you made it.
I'm so sorry I'm late, but wow, what a morning I've had.
Are there any more questions for Lisa, the proposer?
Under this proposal, an independent could vote in one primary or the other, but not in both?
Yes, only one.
And how is that controlled?
They have
If they're not if they're not registered as with a party, how do they know?
The Board of Elections will get my request for whichever ballot, and they're not going to issue
Two.
more than one.
Okay.
Make it simple for me. So if I vote for Kamala, my vote could eventually, in a close race, my vote could eventually go to Trump. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Well, when I vote for one person, that's the person I want. I don't want my vote to go to anybody else. That's what I said. No, that's not what I understood.
No, let me say it one more time. You vote for your favorite and you rank your backup. If your first choice wins by the minimum of maybe 3%, your vote goes to your second choice. You don't vote for Trump. Your vote is not going to Trump.
But I'm only going to vote. I don't want to vote as first choice or second choice.
That's your option. That's your option. You don't have to. You have the if you don't like the process, I want you to vote however way you feel comfortable. But what I'm trying to say is that if this is implemented, you have the option to rank up to 5 candidates, or you can do it the old-fashioned way. That's up to you.
We have a tradition in our club of planting a tree in honor of our speaker. And there is going to be a tree planted in a park in Washington, D.C. In Lisa's name. Okay, well, we can double it up. We can double it up. But anyway, so we're going to plant a tree in your name. There are going to be GPS coordinates so that you'll know where your tree is. And you can go sit and have a sandwich underneath it one
Yes,
day.
we can have lunch there one day.
Oh my gosh.
But you got to wait a while. It's going to grow.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you all so much.
I'll
for